Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar today. The topic today that we are talking about is effective time management techniques. So time and again, we have learned this topic. We have learned this in our college times or in a lot of courses. Maybe I'm sure you must have attended some webinar or seminar or some podcast, or somewhere you must have already heard a lot of about this topic, that is time management. But time and again we have to revise it, and that is where its effectiveness comes in picture. So we still require it at some point of time. So I would just probably brush up today, because I'm sure all of you are already well versed with all these techniques, but we tend to lose track a lot of times. So it is always good to get back to your books and get back on track. I hope this helps you today. So why time management? How would you identify if you really require to learn or to understand time management? Do you feel stressed while you're working? Do you feel exhausted at the end of the day? Are you unable to complete your tasks, the tasks that you have decided that you should complete? Your agenda of the day is not yet complete by end of the day? Are you feeling low on productivity? Do you have a very low sense of fulfillment at the end of the day? Are you unable to take decisions? If you are going through some or all of these say traits, then you definitely need to manage your time properly. If you're feeling low on productivity at the end of the day, if we usually keep a track of what we are doing, and then we do the accounting part at the end of the day as how the day went and what all is left. And if you're not happy about what you have done throughout the day, and you've still been very stressed out, and you've been working over all day and not yet accomplished what you wanted to, then probably you need to manage your time properly. And if you're not free in your mind, if you're very stressed, if you're very exhausted, definitely the decision making is hampered. This is one thing I would like to highlight here, is the student syndrome. So if you have this syndrome in you, you really need to check your time management skills. When we were students, most of us were of an attitude, say, जब exam आएगा 2 दिन पहले पढ़ाई कर लेंगे, or probably 1 दिन पहले पढ़ाई कर लेंगे. And we did clear our exams like that. So that was probably what helped us at that time. But if you still carry this syndrome with you, and if you tend to prepare for a project or a meeting, or say anything that is coming up on the last day at the last moment, then it is definitely about to burst out someday. So if you're carrying this syndrome anywhere in you, please spot it, and probably you'll have to change it. So for time management at your work, I have separated our say work profiles in these 4 categories. So identify what role you fit in. See, there cannot be any one fit for all. So probably you don't fit in any one particular role. So probably you will fit in a combination of 2 roles. So you can identify where you fit in. So the first category here is independent working. Say I am a programmer, I am a coder, and I keep coding and I keep working independently. I don't have any team to work with, or I don't have any one to report to, or whatever throughout the day. So during my regular process, I do not have to interact with anyone. So that makes me an independent worker. So that is category number 1. Category number 2 is supervisor, who is basically not working as such, but managing a lot of people. So getting things done from a lot of people, just helping people or guiding people or just analyzing what everyone is doing. So that is a supervisor part. So do you fit in that role? There is also a process oriented role. Say like in a production unit, say you have one task is that is to be assigned by someone else. So you get a task only after someone else has completed it. Till then you cannot do anything else, and then you have to pass it on to someone else. So you have to wait till the person in ahead in the queue has gives you the role or the responsibilities that you have, and then you have to complete your responsibilities, you have to complete the part, and then you have to pass it on to someone else. If you fall in this process oriented role, then you have a lot of dependency on the people ahead of you and on the people that will take care of that same job after you. So identify if you fall into this process oriented role. And the fourth category that I have put in here is a firefighter role. So along with the daily routine, daily work that you're doing, there is a lot of firefighting happening. So one email from somewhere and then you have to answer it, and one query from somewhere and then you have to answer it, or maybe some crisis somewhere and then you have to be there for it. So any such role, if you are doing right now, then that is a firefighter role. So you may not specifically fit in any one category, but then yes, you can be a combination of any 2 or 3 categories. Keeping your role in mind, you can probably focus on the points that are coming ahead. So how do we manage our time? The biggest myth about managing time is multitasking. Let us do all of this together so that all of it will get done, and then we will have a lot of time for ourselves. But multitasking is actually very stressful, and it will land you up in a lot of errors. Almost 98% of the whole world is not very good at multitasking. I'm sure most of us will like to feel that I am one of that 2%, but we are definitely not. And it is always better to focus on one job at a time. What it'll help you with is you will focus more on the quality part of it than the quantity. It'll help you reduce your stress, and it'll also avoid reworking on that particular task that you're doing. So just segregate your tasks and complete them one by one so that you have all your focus in one task and you get that done, and then you move on to the other task. You do not have to come back to the previous task. So just focus on them one by one. And by my practical experience, I can tell you monotasking can be really difficult than multitasking. It is very difficult to focus at one thing at a time and do it with full focus. Multitasking can always be very self-satisfying, saying that I'm doing so many things at a time. But actually, probably you're not doing even one of them completely. So always I would suggest focus on focus on monotasking rather than multitasking. Time blocking. So what we can do is we can separate our day into blocks. Say this part of the day you can work for all logical reasons. So we have 2 brains in our head. One is the left brain and one is right brain. We have one logical mind and one creative mind. We cannot immediately switch from a logical mind to a creative mind, or from a creative mind to a logical mind. When you are trying to multitask, you usually tend to want to switch these minds, and which does not really happen very efficiently. So it is always better to have these blocks where you do all the logical part, say tuck, 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 1 to 10, you just have to do all those tasks with that sequence, and then it is done. And then you keep one half of your day for all the creative things. Say you have to create some document or write some new emails or answer such queries or draft a procedure or something creative that has to be done. Just keep all of that together so that your brain can function accordingly, and then it can get you in a loop. So so the points here are, you cannot bring your logical and creative thinking together. It is always better to write a to-do list. I will come in detail about this to-do list ahead in the webinar. It is always better you separate the logical task and the creative tasks. Dedicate a time for each task. There should be a time for each task, even if it is unplanned, even if it is say I get a lot of queries every day, but I have a dedicated 2 hours of my day to just answer to those queries. The queries can be different. The situations can keep differing, but then there is that time slot where you have to answer to all of that queries. So have dedicated time for each task. So you can say here there's an example of say logical mornings and then creative evenings. So first half before your lunch, you work on all the logical part, get that done, and then in the second half after your lunch, you can do all the creative part. A to-do list. A to-do list is a savior in a lot of situations. So just having a to-do list in front of you will keep your brain free. You know, they say your brain is meant to build ideas, not to store ideas. So if your brain is empty, you can build on ideas. So you can, if you have everything in front of you, you don't have to think about it or recollect it or just save it in your memory anywhere. So have a list. If possible, make a to-do list one day prior. So before you are logging off from work, say last 10 minutes, what you do is you just create a to-do list for tomorrow. That saves your time in the morning, and you're ready in the morning. Of course, you may have some new emails or some new things that have come up tomorrow morning, and then you can just add them to the to-do list. But you won't waste your time early in the morning creating the to-do list. So I always find it better to create a to-do list one day prior and then just execute it next day. Checking all those tasks is a big satisfaction. So you have a big to-do list, and then tick, tuck, 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 all of that is done, and that is a big satisfaction at the end of the day to me, that I have done all of these. And then if some of them are not yet done, you can probably carry them on to the next day and then check them on the next day. It is very visible. It is very important that this checklist is, or the to-do list is in front of you. It is always in front of you. So say at your desk or on your laptop screen, or just as a soft to-do list, whatever you prefer. It is always better to have it in front of your eyes always. Otherwise, you may just keep firefighting and forget the to-do list altogether. So after you start your to-do list, after you say are done with some part of the to-do list, you can probably zoom out a little later and understand where you're standing right now, what all things are still to be done, and prioritize the other things accordingly. What happens is, a lot of times we tend to do the easier part, or the points that will require lesser time. We tend to check that first, and the difficult part is left, or the time that is going to, the tasks that are going to take longer time are left behind, and they are just left behind for the whole day. So it is always important to prioritize, not just get the easier things done, but if the other things are important, they need to be done, then you might as well do them before doing the easier part. So just prioritize your to-do list once in the day, and then again continue checking them. Buy more hours for yourself. How do you buy more hours for yourself? All of us have 24 hours in a day, and that is all we have. So we just have to manage them accordingly and just buy a little more hours or a little more time for ourselves. How can you do that? So you can sleep less and have more time for work. or for more time for being productive. How do you control your sleep? So probably what I follow is I have very light dinner very early in the evening. So by 7:30, the dinner is done. And if you can sleep early, say by 9:30, 10, you're good to wake up at 5 a.m. It is absolutely not a stress then. It is, we've always heard early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy and wise. That was not the time, I mean, in school that we really followed it, but now probably, yes, we do need to follow it. So this will definitely help you buy more time, spend more less time sleeping. I mean, 8 hours of sleep, yes, it is necessary. So 8 hours of sleep and not more than that. A lot of if you're sleeping for more than 8 hours, it brings in lethargy as well. You'll keep feeling sleepy throughout the day. So have a reason to start your day so that you have a reason to wake up. So that is why I also mentioned having a to-do list a day prior. So that is so by sleeping less is how you can buy a little more time for yourself. And early hours are really very productive. I mean, if you can just put in when we are awake from our sleep, we are the most productive in that state. So if you can just put in anything that you have, any difficult task that you have to do through in that day, in the coming day or in the coming week, you can probably put in that time to do that task, and it'll get completed in a lesser time, in more better precision. Make sure that everything is as per schedule. Have a schedule for everything, for your break times, for your other than work activities, say your fitness or your everything that you want to do throughout the day. Have it in a schedule, because if it is not in your schedule, it is most likely to be missed out from the schedule completely. So have a schedule for everything, for your work and for your tasks, even other than work. Get rid of distractions, especially when you're at work or when you're at a very creative time, when you really have to put in a lot of thoughts in your work. Get rid of these distractions. The distractions can be notifications on your phone, notifications on your desktop, say an email by someone or some news notification or just any app notifications. If you're in a flow of doing something, and if you're in a flow of just of your work, and you get some pop up or some notification, and then you tend to lose your interest, and then oh, that is important, let me just check that. So probably you can have that half an hour or 1 hour just dedicated to whatever you're doing right now, and just turn off the notifications. Unwanted phone calls, or if you're working from office, just colleagues walking in and talking to you. If you're really you really need to focus on your job, if that is what is required in this time frame, then you really need to get rid of these unwanted distractions. Social media and news, again, as I said, we've lately developed this habit. The moment we unlock our screen, the thumb automatically goes on Instagram, or it automatically lands on Facebook, or some news channel or something like that. And then we are so filled with a lot of unwanted things that the flow or whatever you're doing, you've just lost track of it. So either you can just get rid of these distractions, or have them there, have one dedicated hour or half an hour only for these distractions. Just do everything of it at one time, and then get rid of it for the whole day. I'm sure most of you have been through this concept of SMART goals, but again, as I said, we tend to lose track a lot of times, and so it is always good to go back to the books. So say you have big goals, probably you have to complete a certification somewhere, or you have to complete a project that is in your hand. So it is very helpful to segregate it in a smart way. Have specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. If you are appearing for an exam, say by end of this month, then probably you have one big monthly goal, then you can have 4 weekly tasks for it. So this section of all the topics I am going to complete in this week. And for that week, for that section to be completed in that week, I have one daily goal. So I read this topic on this day, I read this topic on this day, and that is how I distribute it daily. So that is how I break my big goals into smaller goals. Also, if you have any personal goals, you can implement this to every aspect of your life. Say I wish to run a full marathon in January. So I have a goal of running 42 kilometers in the month of January. So I have distributed it in say one big goal, and then I have after every 15 days I have to run a half marathon. So I have to run at least 3 to 4 kilometers every day. So that is how it will build up, and then I'll land up running a full marathon. So you can just break any big goal which seems very big into smaller achievable parts. This is one final slide in my presentation today, a book that I always like to go back to. This is called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is a very interesting quadrant that Stephen Covey has narrated in his book, and I am really very impressed with this idea, and I love to follow this concept. So here you see 4 quadrants. They are segregated according to urgent, not urgent, important, not important. So the quadrant 1 is urgent and important. So urgent and important is mostly firefighting that has just come to you right now, and it needs to be addressed right now. So if you are into that kind of a role, then you are largely occupied in the firefighting part. So this firefighting can be about any crisis, any problem, or any deadline driven project. It is very important that you identify that you are what quadrant you are spending most of your time of the day in. So this quarter 1 is important, but there should be a dedicated time for this quadrant number 1. Quadrant number 2 is not urgent but important. This is the most important quadrant of our whole life and whole whatever work you are doing. So this is called quality time. So this may be a long-term goal, but it is important. This may not be urgent right now, but it is definitely important to do it. So say you have planned a few things that are coming up, are not really urgent right now, but then they are coming up, and you need to be ready for these tasks in hand. So a lot of time can be spent in the quadrant 2. It is very important that we spend a lot of time in quadrant 2. It is really a quality time to be spent in. What I have read in the book is he very smartly puts it as the quadrant 1 acts on us while we have to act on the quadrant 2. So it is very important that we act on the quadrant 2. Quadrant number 3 is distractions. Yes, a lot of distractions that we come throughout the day. A lot of emails that may be popping up. You're just responding to them, which probably are not very urgent or not very important. A lot of messages or phone calls or just something that you're doing is just distracting you, and you're just probably wasting your time there. And quadrant number 4 is completely time wasters, not urgent, not important. Watching your TV and watching your cell phone all the time, messaging and chatting and all of that. If you're putting all of that in your working hours, then you're definitely wasting a lot of your productive time. So while we are working, I would suggest not to let this quadrant 3 and 4 barge in our working time. focus the most on the quadrant 1 and 2, mostly on the quadrant 2, and yes, there should be some time dedicated for quadrant number 1. This is how we will really be able to achieve what we've planned for. Yes, that was all that I had from my side today. Please let me know if you have anything to ask or to share from your side.
That was really motivating. Thank you, Deepika, for your inputs.
Thank you, Sheetal. I hope you got at least one new idea today.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thank you for your time today. You all have my email address with you. If there's anything, any feedback, any questions, anything that you want me to know, please let me know on my email. Thank you so much for sparing your time today and for attending this webinar. We will see you soon next month. Thank you. Bye-bye.